Let's draw a folk art flower. For this, you're going to need a square piece of paper, and to begin, we'll need a pencil. Later, you'll want some crayons and a permanent marker. My square piece of paper is pretty small. It's 6 inches by 6 inches, or you could work even smaller. 4 inches by 4 inches would make for a perfect square. Let's begin by grabbing that piece of paper and a pencil. I'm going to take my piece of paper and bring the top down to the bottom, and then I'll hold it really still with one hand while my pointer finger smooths out the bump. I've just made a crease. I'm going to rotate, that means turn my paper, and I'm doing the same thing again, bringing the top down to the bottom, hold it still with one hand, while my pointer finger smooths it out. Now I have 2 creases. One is vertical or up and down. The other is horizontal or side to side. Where they meet in the middle is called an intersection. I want a circle to go there. I could use a lid to trace or a stencil like this to make my circle, or I could just draw it without a stencil or without a lid. I have my circle now in the middle of my paper. The next step is to draw lines on the crease coming away from my circle. You can always press the pause button so you can keep up with me. I think I want to draw more lines. So in between the ones that I drew, I'm going to draw another short line. The next step is to connect those lines with an arched line curved like a rainbow. So think about how a rainbow is curved and make that kind of line to connect these short lines. And what do you know? It's beginning to look like flower petals because we're making a flower. So once you have that finished, let's take a look at what we have created to see what else we might want to add. Your flower, of course, is going to look different from mine because you as an artist will make different choices. I've decided to make big flower petals that stretch from one side of a small flower petal, jumping over 2 flower petals before ending the line. It's up to you what you decide to do. I also decided I wanted some pointy or angle lines because I want those to look like leaves. You don't have to do that. That's just something that I decided to do. And the middle was looking a little empty, so I decided to add a circle. I will be coloring my flower in, and because I want to have a lot of areas to color, I've decided to draw more lines. But notice how I always rotate, that means turn, my paper. I am making a design that is called radiating. Everything I draw in one section of my paper is repeated in another section. The design is radiating or coming from the center. I really like to rotate my paper when I draw. It makes it a lot easier. When you're finished with your flower design, then it's time to use a permanent marker to trace over all of your pencil lines. But wait, I decided I wanted to keep adding more details. Now I'm ready to use my permanent marker to trace. Trace over all of your pencil lines slowly and carefully. All right, let's go over those steps again. Fold your paper in half from the top to the bottom. Smooth out the crease. And then rotate that paper and do the same thing again, top to the bottom. Now you're going to have a vertical line and a horizontal line. And in that middle spot where the 2 lines cross or intersect, that's where we're going to add our circle. You can use a little circle, a big circle. You could trace it with something small, or you could freehand it. Whatever you decide to do, make sure it's in the middle. When you're finished tracing your circle, your next step is going to be draw lines that radiate or come away from the circle. Here I decided to actually use another lid to draw another circle. But notice I drew those lines radiating or coming away from the center before connecting them with a curved line. That's what makes my flower. There's many different ways that you can go about following these steps, which means there's many different ways that you are going to create your flower. Some of your flowers may look a little like mine, and some of them may look a lot different. When you're finished with your design, your next step is to trace. Now we're going to do my favorite part, which is color. When we're coloring today, it's very important that we press down really firmly with our crayons because what we're trying to do is build up a lot of wax on our paper for the final step. Crayons are made out of two things. They're made out of pigment, which is another word for color, baby, color, and they're made of wax. If we press really firmly, we're going to coat the paper in the nice slick surface of wax. And that's important because our next step is to add a little bit of ink to this paper. And we want that waxy crayon to resist or push off some of that ink. So make sure that you color very firmly. There should be absolutely no white spots, and your paper should be really shiny because of all of the wax you've built up. Your hand is going to get a little tired, so make sure take a break and stretch those fingers every now and then. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but once you have a nice shiny waxy drawing, you're going to crumble it up. I know, that's crazy. Crumple it slowly and carefully before gently unfolding it and setting it on a tray. And now I'm going to use some ink and I'm going to cover my whole drawing in ink. I know, it's nuts. The reason we're doing this is because the wax is going to resist it, except where we crumpled the paper. That put cracks in our drawing, and the ink is going to seep into the cracks. Look, we're going to take it to the sink, and when we rinse it, it has a really cool crackled look. If you pressed really hard with your crayon, it will resist, and you'll be able to still see your beautiful color. But where the cracks in the paper were, we can see the ink, which gives it a really cool antique and something called batik look. Thank you so much for joining me today. I can't wait to see what you create. Toodles!